Welcome back. Let's head to the kitchen now to cook up our daily dish, a puffy, fluffy mini quiche. Here's what this recipe calls for. 2 rolls of frozen puff pastry, defrosted. You need eggs, 35% whipping cream or milk, bacon, grated Asiago or white cheddar cheese, green onions, salt, and pepper. The ingredients alone look delicious. Paul, these puffy, fluffy mini quiches sound equal parts adorable and delicious. Take it away.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, I love brunch, and this recipe is one of my favorites because it's easy and it's elegant. It's really simple to make, and it's just fun to say, right?
Yeah, it's just fun to say. Puffy, fluffy mini quiche. I love it.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by making our egg mixture. So I have 5 large eggs here, and we're just gonna add some great flavorings, all things that complement eggs really well. So half a cup of finely grated Asiago cheese. I've got 2 thinly sliced green onions. You could use chives for this, and 6 slices of bacon that I've chopped up and then fried. It just makes it easier rather than frying them and then chopping them afterwards. A 1/4 teaspoon each of salt and pepper. You don't need a lot because you're getting a lot of salt from that bacon and from that cheese. And a half a cup of 35% cream or milk. I prefer whipping cream. And that all just goes into the same bowl. It doesn't matter what order you add them, and I'm just gonna give that a really good mix. You just wanna make sure that the seasoning is all distributed. Now, what makes these easy and beautiful is the puff pastry. So I use frozen puff pastry. I've got 10 by 10 sheets, 2 of them. That's what makes a dozen of these. And I'm just gonna cut them into rectangles.
Now, if you can't find those 10 by 10 sheets of puff pastry, is that a problem, Paul?
So often you'll find larger packages, and what you can do is just use a measuring tape, trim off the excess, and then use it for something else. You could make crackers with these. You can make little pot pies with them, so it won't go to waste. But this recipe is perfectly measured to make a dozen of these cute little quiche. So you want to make sure that you're using cold puff pastry, and we're pressing it into our 12-cup muffin tin. And the important thing is that the edges come up well over the sides here.
Okay, now when you're putting them in there, you're probably going to put some egg wash. I'm wondering, is the puff pastry going to stick to the pan, or is it just going to pop right out?
So the puff pastry is not going to stick to the pan because it's full of butter. But if you get any egg between the pastry and the pan, that's what'll glue it to the pan. So if you're not sure, you can always spray the pan beforehand, but just really make sure that the pastry's coming up and over the edges. And now it's time to put in our mixture. And like I said, this recipe is perfectly measured out. So each cup gets 3 tablespoons of our egg mixture. And I'm using a 1/4 cup because 3/4 of a 1/4 cup is 3 tablespoons. So right down into the wells. And you want to make sure you're getting that bacon from the bottom so everyone gets a little bit. Don't overfill them.
Okay, I love the idea of making this really personalized so everyone gets their own little mini quiche. There's just something very special about that. Can you make these in batches and freeze them? Like, do they freeze well?
So you can absolutely make these in batches. You can freeze them. You can even just keep them in the fridge for a while. I've taken these on a camping trip when I was in charge of making brunch on the Sunday. They sat in the fridge for 2 nights. The only thing I would say is make sure that you are reheating them in the oven. These are not the kind of thing that you want to start microwaving. One of the other things I love about this is built-in egg wash. So I just dip a brush into each quiche and then brush the edges, and this will make them bake up nice and glossy and bakery style, very pro. And once you've done that, straight into a 375-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Don't walk away, every oven's different, just until they've puffed up really nicely and they're golden.
Well, the key thing I'm taking away from this segment, Paul, is that I'm never going camping without you. If I can wake up at a campsite to fluffy mini quiches, that means you are the co-camping partner that I need.
So this is what you end up with. They puff up, they're golden, they're crispy on the edges, and the egg just puffs up into these cute little balls. And then you can serve them at your brunch, or you can leave them in the fridge and pop one in your hand on the way to work. They're really versatile and super easy.